Gentlemen, the 3 o'clock hour has arrived, and we will call our meeting to order. Our first item, as usual, is to receive and approve the minutes of our meeting of April 1st. Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Here. Yes, sir. Okay. We'd like to correct them if you'd point them out, sir.
I was not present.
Oh,
It says I was.
okay. That exception being made, the motion is approved. Our next item, Mr. Lasani. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. We have one item for you for consideration. It's requesting $100,000 from the unlisted fire 2007 general obligation bond, and it is for the new fire station number 26, which is located at 7025 Southwest 119th Street. This is at the northeast corner of Southwest 119th Street and Rockwell Avenue. The additional $100,000 is to cover any change orders in the contract that was awarded by the City Council on December 4th, 2012. Project is under construction, so until the new fiscal year, which begins July 1st, we need to have some contingency funds in order to cover any change orders. The fire department is planning to use their fire tax fund for any additional contingency, but in order to carry the project from here to the end of this fiscal year, we're requesting the $100,000 in unlisted funds. The total award for the project was almost $2.6 million, of which $1.8 million came from the 2007 bond, and about $679,000 was from the fire tax fund. And it included the base bid, basically, and some alternatives that the fire department had added to the contract. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, that's in my ward, and we need it worse than anything else before we're out there. So I move we approve.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the item is approved. Our next item is an informational item that the board requested, myself specifically, on where we go with Kelly Avenue.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Kelly Avenue, you had requested any project that starts from Northeast 13th Street all the way to the Oklahoma City limits. As you see in the map, we have several projects. The only one that has been completed is a resurfacing project, which was in a 2000 GO bond program, and that's from Northeast 50th to Northeast 63rd Street. That was completed in 2008. Starting from the south and going north, there's a 2-mile project from the Northeast 23rd Street to Northeast 50th Street. This is a 2007 bond project, and we are planning to sell the bonds in 2015, so the construction could begin that May or June of that year. The numbers you see below the colored lines are the traffic counts that we currently have on the stretches of Kelly Avenue. Starting from the south, it's like 8,800, and then it goes to 5,700 and so on. So it's ranging, in the 3,000 to 8,000 ADT in the entire length of the Kelly Avenue. The other project that is under design is from Northeast 63rd to Wilshire Boulevard. This is a 2000 general obligation bond project, and it is in the final design. We have finished most of the right-of-way. That the holdup is, and if we go to the pictures, just north of Wilshire Boulevard, there are two buildings that belong to the Oklahoma military, and also U.S. Army Corps of Engineers oversees that. So we've been working with them because OG&E has a major transmission line that has to be relocated. And there's easement necessary that goes into the parking lot of those buildings. We have been working very hard to get that easement, and it is still going. And we are hopeful that we'll be able to get the easement necessary and start the transmission line relocations. Transmission lines have to be relocated between the months of October and April. That's when the demand for electric is not that high, and they can be de-energized in parts in order to be relocated. So, and then OG&E has some lead time, maybe approximately 3 months, for material to be ordered. So we are looking at some options in order to get this moving this year. The other project that is under design is between Hefner Road and Northeast 122nd Street. That project is in final design. We have completed right-of-way acquisition, and we are working on the utility relocations in that section. And we are looking to sell the bonds in 2015 for that project. The other projects that you see are widening to the north, and that is also in the 2019 bond sale. Any questions?
Yes. It's a mystery to me that between 50th and 63rd Street, the traffic counts are fairly high. The traffic counts begin to decrease north of 63rd Street, but that's where the widening begins. Why is it that you don't have a widening situation where the traffic count is the heaviest?
That, I think I need some help.
It's not totally the heaviest, but it's fairly substantial, and it's greater than where the widening occurs.
Mr. Chairman, Dennis Clowers with the manager's office. I believe the thinking was when the 2007 bond authorization project list was put together, it was thought that the traffic counts north of 63rd or north of I-44 would tend to increase, and those south of 63rd would remain relatively constant. And that's why the projects that you see from 63rd, of course, 63rd to Wilshire, as Ahmad said, was included in the 2000 authorization, but those from Wilshire, the 4 miles from Wilshire up to Memorial, were put into the 2007 for the reason that we anticipated those traffic counts to increase beyond what those are south of 63rd.
It was anticipated, but has your anticipation, is it correct?
We believe that when, and this may be, you may think this is faulty thinking on our part, I hope not, but it was thought that when that roadway is widened to 4 lanes, that folks would begin using it a lot more than perhaps other roadways in the vicinity.
I hear you. Any other questions concerning this project?
With somewhat selfish intent, up there at 126th Street, Kelly, I see that that's the last piece from 122nd Street to Memorial.
Correct.
And I see, and I go out there and the traffic is backed up, and we finally got a signal, which is good. We got 350 units, more apartment units going in right there next to the lanes. I'm starting with that. extension and Turnpike, that's just getting more and more congested around that whole 4 square miles there that surround that intersection. And I see that we're going to start on that, at least which year, June of 2019. And I see, and I don't know what these traffic counts, when are these traffic counts, when are they recent?
My guess that those are within the last year.
Yes, it's either, current 2012 or a year older, not older than that.
And then we've got the big gap in between. Is there a way to, I mean, is there a reason why we've got those states like that? Or is it just, we're just going from south to north? Or can we can we modify that? Can we get something a little bit more? 'Cause we've already got 122nd Street, man, it's beautiful. It's all 4 lane, but it dumps right into the 2 lanes of Kelly.
What we have from Wilshire North, those 4 miles, is a plan. Ahmad's staff, they put together a plan not just on the street projects, but to implement the remainder of the 2007 authorization, which will probably go to 2019 or maybe even 2020 on some projects. To answer your question, no, it can be relooked and see if it might be better to shift those years around from. Now it looks like 2018, 2016, 2015, and 2019 for those 4 miles. Perhaps it would be better to look at it, and I'm sure that the Ahmad staff can do that and see if there would be a better sequence to do those.
I'm selfish here, but I do think I have a legitimate, position that maybe we might work.
I'm sure that's something.
Could you look at that?
Yes.
Yes, they will look at that.
Yes, I may add that, what we are trying to do is to clear the OG&E transmission lines, for the 4 miles. I'm not aware of,
It could be. I think we've got a widening project upcoming on, I want to say on Hefner from Kelly to Eastern.
yes, we do that. We do have
That is, I don't know if it's this fiscal year. If it's not, it's probably early next fiscal year. The mile just east of Kelly on Hefner. And there may be some utility relocations going on for that. That may be what you're noticing. I don't know.
Yes.
Question.
But yeah, if you guys could maybe take a look at that, see if there's a way to work.
Yeah, and I may add that these dates are very, anticipation and just, placeholder, we call it. If things work out where they could be sequenced in a better way, we can switch them around. So it's, they're not really, right.
Yeah, let me make another point. The plan that they have for the remainder of the 2007 authorization is also based on estimates of what the bond sales will be. And if you remember, there's not a whole lot of evenness in the level of the bond sales. This year's bond sale was $90 million. Last year's was
50 million.
50 million. And we have projections from Mr. Stroop's office about what the next several years of bond sales will be, but those are their projections, and those may change. So those are things that would affect which projects are in and which projects are out early and later. There's a lot of different factors that have to be taken into consideration.
Speaking of selfish, how much does it cost per mile to widen the street from 2 lanes to 4?
Okay. This is a long explanation, but I'm going to make it brief. When the 2007 bond was put together, the typical widening project was $3.5 million. But that was just typical. But some projects have more cost. For instance, in drainage, they may have other items like intersection improvements, traffic signals that, raises the cost up, or cost the right-of-way could go up. But $3.5 million was for the total project. But recent figures and recent projects that we have finished, puts it at a little bit more than that. It's anywhere from $4+ million. But some projects come under that, so you got to look at the averages. But on the next bond issue, definitely these numbers will go a lot higher.
And staff has done a great job of planning for and soliciting federal funds to supplement, going through ACOG and the Department of Transportation. I don't know how many individual projects we've done out of the 2007, but my guess is, I don't know, 6 to 10 miles worth of widening. And so if we get those funds, then we're only paying 20%, and we're getting 80% match from the federal government. So that allows us to stretch those, because we really didn't anticipate that when we put the bond authorization together. We just put in $3.5 million for every mile we were going to do. So if we get a $4 million project and only have to pay 20% of it, well, that's $800,000 instead of $3.5 million.
Do you anticipate that the completion of the work on I-240, 235, where it meets 44, is that going to relieve some of the traffic that's currently on Kelly?
It could, but I have a copy of ODOT's 8-year plan, and that interchange is, the last piece of it is in the 8th year of their 8-year plan. So there's probably about another 5 or 6 phases of work that will have to be done there, and it's due to ODOT's limitations on 2 factors. One, they don't get all the money every year. They'll have that money phased in over a period of 5 or 6 years. And 2, even if they had all the money, they could not do all of that construction at once without shutting that interchange down. That's why it's being done in phases. But it will not be completed until probably about 2018, somewhere in there, 2019.
I don't count the traffic on 50th Street, but what I suspect is true is that the backups on Lincoln and the backups on 235, the traffic shifts and moves east to Kelly, and that's why it's at least between 50th and 63rd. I think that may be why that traffic is backed up a couple of times a day.
I'm sure you're correct.
So I'm still lobbying for 4 lanes. And, just so that you know.
Duly noted.
Thank you, sir.
Let's lobby more.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have other informational items, Mr. Drew.
Yes, we have provided the April summary of expenditures and contracts awards in your packets. For the month of April, contract awards were a little over $7.5 million. Year-to-date, $38.3 million. Public Works has got a lot of projects coming online to be awarded in the next couple months. Total there of $42.4 million between the end of April and through the end of June. Our expenditures so far this year are $30.6 million. If you look over at Chart 2, one of the requirements that we have by the IRS is when we sell bonds to expend at least 85% of those funds within 3 years. And so the next year that we're looking at is the 2011 sale, and that we need to have 85% expended by April 26th of next year. Currently, we're at 48%, so we're well on our way to reaching that goal and that requirement. You can also see 2012 and 2013 numbers there as well. The graph below just reflects the project awards and expenditures so far year to date, and we are well on our way to reaching the goal of $70 million in contract awards for this fiscal year. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
The other 50, by the way, I haven't met most of the people on the horseshoe today. My name is Mike Dover, and I'm, of course, you can tell because you've never met me before, the new representative for Ward 2. I'm glad to be here today. You mentioned, Mike, the 85%.
No, just of the total that was sold for that year, we have to spend at least 85% within 3 years.
So it's more of a timing issue? as
Correct.
opposed to- I got you. Thank you. I've got a lot to learn, y'all.
Is there any new business to come before this board? Hearing none, are there items from committee members? Hearing none. Citizens to be heard? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Yes, sir.